All right, in episode 75 of Greenhorn Gardening, I talk about the release of the 2013 Garden Calendar and Growing Journal, as well as 6 types of vegetable gardeners and how to determine which one best fits you. And for the growing tip, an easy way to roast pumpkin seeds. That's right, folks. Welcome to greenhorngardening.com. I'm Damon, and I'm on a mission to help you grow your own vegetable garden. So definitely go on over to greenhorngardening.com/claim to get your free download on the right way to make and use organic fertilizer. All right, guys, finally getting back into the saddle after the holidays. Hope everybody had a Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and all that good stuff, all that goodwill towards men stuff, and it's time to, it really is a good time to really start thinking about that 2013 calendar. The 2013 growing season. I mean, it's just about the corner. I mean, for me, it's already time just about to plant lettuces, simply because the only reason I haven't is because it's just too wet. I mean, has anybody else had a lot of rain? I mean, all these winter storms, and down here in the South, you don't have winter storms. It's just rain. It doesn't get cold. It's just rain, and it just doesn't stop. And that's very frustrating because, there's a lot of things I'd like to be doing, like building the boat and all that kind of thing. But the old-timey fishermen used to always say that, when it rains a lot in the winter, that means it's going to be good fishing in the spring, simply because the lake fills up, the river fills up, and I guess the deeper water gives the fish more habitat versus if we were in a drought year and the river's really low and the fish have to just kind of struggle and survive. Whereas but anyway, that's what the old-timer fishermen say. But anyway. Just released the 2013 Greenhorn Garden Calendar and Growing Journal. Just released it last week, and I released it actually at $11.99, and I was going to have the price go up to full price this weekend, but I had not been very late with the podcast this time. So what I'm doing is I'm going to extend that offer until next week. And so if those of you who are interested, I've been talking off and on about, ways to bring in revenue for Greenhorn Gardening, but not just me wanting to pitch a bunch of products, but to actually bring value to you guys. And if you go back to listen to, those of you who are on the e-newsletter know that have been asking about various things that you would like to see in a calendar, and, what's important about that and how does that mean to you. And if you guys are interested in that, just, I'll tell you what, I'll put the link in the show notes, and you can click over there and check out the 2013 Garden Calendar and Growing Journal, and then you can have that there. Other than that, really trying to get out here, if we can get a break in the weather, get out here and get some cold frames built, and get some lettuce into the ground. This time of the year for us is a great time to plant lettuce, so that by the time, it's always funny to me because, the way I garden is essentially it's almost a year-round thing. It really just hardly ever stops. There's a little lull there in the middle of December, but other than that, you're just pretty much going at it all the time. And you're planting things in January and February, and by the time, most people are starting to think about gardening, I'm already harvesting. Most people are thinking about getting into their gardens and getting out there. I understand way up north, you just, it's so cold and there's so much less sunlight. You have limited opportunity, but in an area like mine, there are winters where winter just never really gets here. You know what I'm saying? Although there's not enough sunlight really right now for much to grow, just to show you how warm and how wet it's been. My turnips that I planted back in, when was that? October, they're already bolting. Normally, the lack of sunlight and all that would make them kind of put them into a dormant state, and then they would come back with a lot of vigor and rigor during the spring and bolt on out fairly quickly. But now it's been so wet, and it's been so cloudy, not much sunlight at all, that the plants themselves are they're just bolting on out when a plant bolts out, a lot of times it has to do with the plant, going into almost a survival mode. They're going to bolt out, put on seed, and the plant's just trying to survive because it's so wet. I'm amazed that these plants have not drowned, and I think the reason they haven't drowned is because of the raised beds that I advocate so much. The raised beds have drained away all that excess water, but it's still too much water for them, and they're bolting on out, I believe, as a result. So I'm probably going to have to chop those in, turn them in, and start working one of those, the bed that I have the older turnip greens in, working that up a little bit sooner than I would like. But that's how it goes sometimes. The planet has its own, weather and its own climate, and we have to kind of just watch and go along with it. But anyway, if you guys want to know more about that calendar deal or any of that, the 2013 Growing Calendar and Growing Journal, just shoot me an email at damon@greenhorngardening.com, or you can watch the videos over at YouTube, or you can shoot me a message on Twitter at Greenhorn Damon is the ID there. And with that, let's jump on into the main subject. Okay, so the 6 types of vegetable gardeners and which one best fits you. Now, you've probably over the Christmas holidays saw these commercials, about, people, the different types of Christmas shoppers, or probably read articles in various places like that. And that's where I get this idea from. I figured it'd be kind of cool to sit here and think, what kinds of gardeners have I, run across, or, kind of things and trends that I've seen just in my own gardening efforts. And in kind of, if you could just personify them and what would that look like and what would that be? And so that's what I did. I said, came up with the idea about middle of December. Said, we'll just do this in the beginning of the year. It'll be kind of fun. Everybody's starting to think about planting their gardens and all that kind of thing. So here we go. The 6 types of vegetable gardeners and how to figure out which one best fits you. Now, the first one is what I call the old crap gardener. The person that's like, oh my gosh, it's middle of May, it's almost June, they haven't bought any seeds, no gardening supplies, the raised beds haven't been worked up, no compost, no leaf mold, just nothing. And there's the mad dash to get to the nursery, or you get to the big box store and you spend mad cash on tomatoes and peppers and all kinds of vegetables that have already been started, and you don't have any compost, so you get the big bags of compost that have been sitting out there, because you know how it is when you get to the big box center, right? They got all the garden stuff out there in the parking lot, and it's kind of blocked off with the 2x4s or whatever, and you're like, oh man, and all these people are out there, and it's so exciting. And then you just think about things like, okay, the compost that's sitting in those plastic bags in 90-degree heat, you've just killed off all the microbes, so you're just kind of wasting your money. Really. But anyway, that's just kind of a quick tip. Don't, if that's all you got, then do it. But the whole principle is that, seeds cost pennies, plants cost dollars, homemade compost is free, and bagged compost costs a whole lot of dollars. So, and I understand if you're doing raised beds, you're having to bring things in, and that's okay. But the whole point is, here is what's cool about the old crap style gardeners. They're cool under pressure, and sometimes no matter how much you plan, no matter how much you try to get started ahead of time, things just don't work out. Sometimes plans fail, sometimes crops fail. And sometimes the only thing you can do is rely on the nurseries and the big box stores and farmers markets and things like that to help you get through the growing season. There's nothing wrong with that. And that's what's so good about it, because, if it all else fails, you know that you still have those things while you're still learning these gardening skills. And that's what's so great about the old crap gardener. The next kind of gardener is kind of the mad scientist, and I certainly see myself as this. Everything's an experiment, everything is data driven, everything is you're just always trying something new, even to the point of just sacrificing a whole season's production. You're trying all kinds of new composting methods, all kinds of new plant spacings, all kinds of new, and it's just this Dr. Frankenstein, it's alive thing. And here's what's cool about the mad scientist. The thing is if you keep experimenting without just, kind of killing the whole thing, if you can just keep experimenting, eventually you're going to stumble onto something, and when you do, you'll have your own method in place that you can actually go out and teach to others, which is a lot of what I'm doing here with Greenhorn Gardening. And therefore you can duplicate your efforts, and then other people, they take that and build on it, and they have their own thing, and that's what's great about it. And so gardening, especially organic gardening, needs more and more mad scientists to keep pushing the boundaries of what's possible. And that's how a lot of things work in our world. I mean, I remember back in the, I'm a big fan of aviation and space flight and things like that. And you think about, the old Apollo project and Gemini, and then its predecessor, Mercury. They couldn't even get out of the Earth's atmosphere. I mean, there was a point where all they had the Air Force had these little rocket planes that they would blast up just to the edge of the atmosphere, and that's about the best they could do. And really fast, but they actually had to get out of the atmosphere, and they had to push those boundaries. And then once they got out into space, they had to figure out, okay, can we get into orbit? And once they got into orbit, can we actually work in space? Can we space dock? Can we actually lift, just heavy lift enough equipment to get to the moon? And so it was just this ongoing, progression until they actually achieved that goal. And that's kind of what the Mad Scientist Gardener is all about. It really is about that that never-ending experiment that you just keep going, and you eventually refine these methods over time, and then you can go and teach other people, and all of you can do that actually. And so then that's what's so cool about that. So the next type of gardener, which is one of my favorite actually, is the accountant. The accountant type gardener. It's all about the numbers. Numbers. You take the cost of the gardening supplies, the seeds, the fertilizer, the drip irrigation equipment, the tools you got to buy, and then you weigh all that out, and you, at the end of the season, you keep up, every single thing you harvest, you weigh it, and you keep a chart on it, and then you actually compare it to the cost of what you would have had to buy if you had gone to the grocery store. I mean, you got the spreadsheet, you just you pump in the numbers, ding, 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 it just pumps out numbers, man. And every pound of vegetable harvest is accounted for during the season, and they can tell you down to the penny how much their garden efforts are worth. I mean, that has value, and that's what's so cool about accountant type gardeners, is that it's all essentially a profit and loss thing. It's a P&L statement, it's a profit and loss. And accounting, it gives you a realistic view of your gardening. I had a lady who just recently asked me about growing kale, and she was saying that how expensive kale was in the grocery store. And she says, yeah, you can grow it. It's kind of wet now, but you need to wait about a month or so. And then the thing is that you think about that. There are certain things that are really not really worth growing, because they are, if it's all about the profit and loss for you, it is way cheaper just to get to the grocery store and buy it. But you go to things like kale and some of these other kinds of things, like for instance, never buy tomatoes in the winter. All right, they're out of season, so they're going to cost more. Always buy your tomatoes during the summer. All right, and then you either buy them during the summer or just grow a bunch of them during the summer, and then you freeze them, dry them, and you use canning methods to use that way you can preserve the food, preserve the tomatoes, and use them all winter long. And so you can actually keep account of what you're putting into your garden and what you're getting out of it. And that's a really cool way to go. And that's part of what the 2013 garden calendar allows you to do. If you really want to do that, you can chart that out and have that for yourself. But anyway, let's move on to the next type. So what have we done now so far? We got the old crapper, we've got the mad scientist, we got the accountant, now we got the dreamer. Okay, this is kind of the other side of the spectrum. I mean, are you really saving money in your garden, or is it really just kind of a daydream? You got the birds and the flowers, and you got fresh air, all the organic methods. A lot of people, saving the planet and the preserving biodiversity and all this good stuff. Dreamer type gardeners, they live for the cause. And it's all about the greater good. And, I was talking about that goodwill towards men stuff. And here's what's cool about that, is that a lot of the organic methods used today were preserved by people who had this incredible passion for the organic methods. And without those dreamers, this whole modern urban organic slow food movement stuff would just be dead, because there were, the dreamers carried it on their backs and preserved the methods and refined those methods. And you combine the dreamer a little bit with the mad scientist, throw in the accountant, you got a pretty good deal going. All right. And so that's what's so cool about the dreamers. So the next type is what I call the doomsday prepper. I mean, you've seen the TV show, right? I mean, or the ads or whatever, or you get on YouTube and you look at these dudes that are preparing for the zombie apocalypse. And I always joke about the zombie apocalypse. If you ever want to read a very entertaining book, the World War Z, or Max Brooks's work about the zombie apocalypse, it reads like an Army field manual. The other one he wrote, I forget the name of it, but anyway, I mean, you got to think it's either the machines or the zombies or some epic disease that's going to wipe us all out, right? But the cool thing about the doomsday preppers is they're pragmatic. They do everything from a practical standpoint. I mean, if this were a kind of a post-apocalyptic world, you may not necessarily have fuel to run rototillers, so things are done by hand. You have to have the right tools, and you see that a lot in Greenhorn Gardening, where most of everything is done by hand, other than just a simple lawnmower to mulch the leaves. You're having to really rely on the ecosystems to provide the necessary nutrients for your plants. You're having to learn to save seeds from season to season, because you're not necessarily going to be able to crack open an order catalog. In other words, it's a very practical way of gardening. And in the long run, I think makes gardening a little bit easier, because you can save your own seeds. Certain types of seeds are far easier to save than others. But you're learning more skill as a gardener. And anytime you're learning more skill, that is a good thing. And that's the one thing you can learn from the doomsday preppers. They're always perfecting their skills. Okay, and so the last type of gardener is what I call the librarian. Another one of my favorite types. They're very similar in tenacity to the mad scientist, but relies more on the works of other people. And I've definitely I know a lot of you, let's just think about it. The librarian style gardener they're researchers by nature. They're always finding, always learning, always reading, always gleaning, always trying to increase their understanding and wisdom through what they learn. And what's cool about that is, the basic mindset, if it has been done, then somebody probably wrote a book about it. You can go buy that book or get on their website or whatever, read about it, take what they've done, apply it to your own situation, and you kind of learn from their experience, their successes, and their failures, and that kind of guides your own learning process. That's very good. I mean, it can take you a long way. I mean, how much has changed? A lot of you hear me talk about F.F. Rockwell. I mean, how much has changed in cultivation of vegetables and plants since, like the foundation of the world? Really nothing. Plants still need sun. I mean, they still need light. They still need heat. They still need nutrients. I mean, we say, well, we got, soilless mixes now. We've got aquaponics and hydroponics and all this. Well, it still doesn't change. The plants still need light, and they still need heat, and they still need nutrients. The form that you give it to them doesn't matter. The only thing that matters is that they get it. And so you can learn a lot from what others have done, and you can use and pick and choose which may fit best for your situation, and then you apply that and have great success. And so let's go back over all these types. We got the old crapper gardener, we got the mad scientist, we got the accountant, we got the dreamer, we've got the doomsday prepper, and we've got the librarian. Okay, and so those are the 6 types of gardeners, and which one do you think best fits for your situation? Now, I don't know about you, but for me, there's a little bit of all these, really, because these are all just different aspects of what it means to be a successful gardener. You got to be able to go out and look at the work of other people and incorporate that into your own, whatever best fits. You got to be able to constantly work on your skills like the doomsday prepper from a pragmatic standpoint. You got to be a little bit of a dreamer, because if not, this whole thing's going to be miserable, and then you won't have much to hang on to, You got to have a little bit of an accountant in you. You got to really be able to sit there and say, okay, what is the most cost-effective way to do this? You got to have a little bit of that mad scientist where you're really just, you really want to dive in and experiment with lots of things. And that goes really well with the doomsday prepper because you're always trying to perfect your skills. But the mad scientist is really always trying to break through the new ground. And also toward the old crap gardener, because once you do all this stuff and nothing works, you always know that there's someone else who is having success, and the nurseries are doing well, and you can go and you can lean on them, and they can help you out when the time comes. So that's this week's main segment. Okay, folks, please forgive all the rain. It's been incredibly rainy. It's really coming down now, so you may hear some of that through here, although this microphone is very good at canceling out a lot of those noises. It just really doesn't pick them up. So let's move on to the next thing, which is the growing tip on how to roast pumpkin seeds. Now, if you've been hanging around on the YouTube channel, just get on YouTube and type in Greenhorn Gardening. You'll find me there. I put up a video sometime before Christmas about roasting pumpkin seeds. A lady friend of mine had given me a couple of pumpkins, and I thought, I've heard about people roasting pumpkin seeds, but never done. I said, why don't we go ahead and give it a shot? And I videotaped that whole process, and you can get that link there on the show notes on the website. Just click on over to greenhorngardening.com, and you'll see episode 75, and you'll see the link there to the resource, and click straight on to that and see that video. But generally the way it works is this: I took a machete, split the pumpkins in half, and then scraped out all the little stringy thingies, all these. It always amazes me how squashes are kind of stringy on the inside. But you pull out all that stringy stuff, you scrape it all out, and then what I do is put it in the sink and load up a bunch of water and just kind of pull out all that stringy stuff and leave the seed behind. You kind of wash the seed a little bit. Then you take the seed and clean and let it dry. Now, I don't put any soap or anything like that in the water to wash the seeds off. The whole point is just to get rid of that stringy stuff, and then you want to let them dry. Don't stack them on top of each other because mold will set in. You want to just spread them out evenly and just let them dry. And you could even put them in a dehydrator if you want it for a little while, but there's no real need. Just let them dry out evenly, and but just make sure they watch out for the mold, because they will mold. Trust me. And then after that, what you do is set your oven. If you're going to roast them, set your oven to 350 degrees. Take about 2 tablespoons of, well, it depends on how many seeds you have, right? You can either use oil of some kind. I use butter, salted butter, because or you can use olive oil or canola oil, anything like that. But I took a couple of tablespoons of butter and put it on the cookie sheet on top of the seeds, and put it in the oven, let the heat melt the butter, and then mixed it all up, and then put it back in the oven and let it roast for, I don't know, I guess it was like 10-20 minutes or whatever it was, till it got to the crunchiness that I wanted. And then I added some sugar, powdered sugar and cinnamon, okay, and because I wanted a kind of a sweet snack, and that's what I did, and that was a great little snack. Pumpkins produce an awful lot of seeds, and so you can, you can do that, and so you can grow pumpkins just for the seeds and eat the seeds, because the seeds are actually pretty good. It's very nutty. There's a kernel of it. The seeds are fairly big, but there is a kernel inside the seed that's very nutty in flavor, and then there's the outer shell of the seed that you can eat as well. So you're not having to shell it like peanuts, right? You just pop the whole thing in and eat it. It's good to go. And so there you have it. That's how to roast pumpkin seeds. If you want to supercharge your garden's growth, get your organic fertilizer recipe download at greenhorngardening.com/claim. That's it for this time. See you guys later. Grow 'em big.